I hunt with family. One that I hold close. I protect them, and they protect me. I am Rexar, champion of the Horde. And I never hunt alone.
Heroes of the Storm. Play free and experience the new StarCraft-themed battlegrounds. Rated T for Teen.
Tempo Storm, our previous North American champions, are down 0-2 to Gale Force eSports so far. And Gale Force eSports, having the map pick since first pick was chosen by Tempo Storm, have chosen a battleground they have never chosen in HGC so far. They're going to Battlefield of Eternity and Dread. Tempo Storm have yet to win on this. This is their Achilles heel, and Gale Force eSports knows it.
Only showing the amount of thought that has gone into the series here for Gale Force eSports. Very calculated so far. It showed getting the lead, but also the dominant win there under 10 minutes onto Cursed. I'm very looking forward to what they have here for this map, because you know they came in with heavy thoughts on how they're going to play BOE, knowing it's the weakest point for Tempo Storm. Malf, in fact, is going to be the pickup, though, for Tempo. Do we see Gale Force move into, you know, a bit of the Li Ming? She's been such high value onto this map. Vol is still going to be available. Artanis gains a lot more value onto the map. It's going to be Zeratul Li Ming.
Okay, Zeratul Li Ming. We've already seen Psalm's Zeratul, his win rate fall out of perfection. But now we get Fan's Zeratul, which again he has not died playing that hero yet. That would be quite a way to go out in this series. Zeratul Li Ming, Tempo Storm, what are they going to add along with Malfurion? We've seen a lot of variant play on Battlefield of Eternity, now being able to work around the stuns of the Immortal. Again, we're just starting to get a taste of Tempo Storm's variant play specifically, but it seems like Gale Force eSports were already anticipating that as well, which is crazy to say.
I do think the variant direction probably be one of the, better routes here for Tempo Storm into their draft. I would like to see them move that direction. I think the biggest problem is that, that it only is a big power play when you can make other picks behind it, like a variant Vala makes the most sense. But again, with other power play and synergistic heroes, Malf is going to be a nice one, but they need to make sure the damage behind it is going to be backing up. So instead, they do avoid the Vala and the variant. They're going the route of ETC Tychus. An arsenal or a hero that I would like to see in their arsenal for where you can feign by picking variant that early on is going to be that of like Medivh, like we saw from teammate yesterday. So it's going to be Tychus and ETC here.
ETC will give the attack speed bonus, and Tychus still to another comfort for Tempo Storm, as well as the fact that he does have a lot of damage that he can put out for the Immortal. But Gale Force eSports are looking to ban Artanis to try to staunch some of the damage for Tempo Storm in the race.
Artanis is hovered. He's so scary. Such a scary hero on this map. I know I often am like, another Artanis in North America is a solo, but in this map, I am terrified of him. Amateur opponent makes exactly that. Anyone look like an amateur opponent, he's going to be removed. Now, what do we want to see here? Is Diablo going to be the focus for Tempo Storm, knowing that the Zeratul exists on the other half of the map? That being said, in the last game, they moved into the Lightning Breath, not into the APOC, so maybe they have a little different thoughts on the value of the heroes.
They may be trying to target the Warrior players for Gale Force in this instance. If they wanted to ban Diablo, then would Gale Force play Variant? Have they played Variant so far?
For Gale Force eSports?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. Every time we've seen it, it's been Murden. It's been Murden, Diablo, and ETC. I think every Warrior that they played. And it's always been Mike one time onto the Murden, and every other time it's been either Crowan or Equinox.
Very rarely a solo Zarya, but that was way earlier on. They sort of stopped that pretty quickly in HGC. So what do Tempo Storm ban if not a Warrior?
It's going to be the Diablo. They're playing it safe now. Where does Gale Force? Gale Force should have expected that ban. So I want to see now, obviously with the absurd amount of effort and thought they put into the series so far, I think this next rotation is really going to kind of show their thoughts onto the draft on this map, what they want to move with. They're looking for, you know, at least something else to be able to aid in the race. Ragnaros being banned out, so that's not going to be something to worry about. I thought for a minute he might have let it through. I was like, well, you know, that'd be cool. So Diablo and Rag, Malph's taken away. What else can pair with the Void? Jaina's one, but you do not want to run Jaina, Li Ming, Zeratul. You are so Wombo focused that it is unrealistic to make it happen here on BOE. Maybe into a Tyrael or a Greymane pickup could happen here. Double resets with Zeratul is extremely powerful.
Yeah, we've seen Gale Force run Tyrael before, but it was always as a second warrior. But in that instance, having Greymane not only for the Tyrael Greymane pairing, but also for the race. You're going to wait on warrior. Rhaegar Falstad would be the next two.
Rhaegar Falstad, safe picks. It looks like Gale Force here is gone, you know, very, very safe when it comes to their picks. Falstad is one. We don't always see that high on BOE, but personally, I love him on the map. I think he's really great when it comes to the side soaking, what he can provide in terms of, you know, gusting, poking in the long run with Gathering Storm here. This is a scenario where I absolutely do not want to see Seasoned Marksman. I don't think there's any way we do.
So I think Tempo Storm takes this one of two ways. Either they pick Tyrael Greymane here, or we're going to see an Alarak for Psalm.
I really hope we don't see the Alarak route. It just has been not very impressive anytime we've seen it so far.
But they have ETC.
Yeah, they do have the ETC and they have the Malph. Like, they have a lot of the tools to make Alarak terrifying. It just, the Alarak is a hero that is so, if this does not work, when it comes to the combo, it just doesn't, it flat out doesn't work for the team. Illidan and Kharazim, though, picked here.
The one other
Tempo.
way they draft this map, I was like, surely they won't do the Illidan. It's going to be either the Alarak choice or Tyrael Greymane. Nope, it is the Illidan.
I'm going to get really weird. I really want this last pick to be an Arthas. I know it's not going to happen, but I think Arthas would be such a good pick for Gale Force eSports. Having Zeratul to be able to buy time for Arthas to be able to survive, split into a fight, Gust in case things get terrible. You have Ancestral for your team, and more importantly than anything, you have the ability to be able to counter onto the Illidan, and then, you know, if you're feeling really confident, you add a huge spike, run the Sindragosu, boys. This is one of the few scenarios where I really like Arthas. I know we don't see it in NA almost ever, but there is a pretty solid argument for here.
I think they're still going to pick Muradin, though, especially now that he has Thunderburn. He can slow down the attack speed of Illidan and Kharazim, even Tychus if he wants to get on top of him. Yeah, I think it'll be Muradin, but Arthas would be dang fun.
Give it to me. The Sindragosa. Feels bad.
Or Varian.
Varian makes the most sense with Illidan instead of the Muradin. It's actually really interesting how that's worked out. Muradin used to be considered top 2 warriors into an Illidan, and now probably a little bit towards the bottom, you know, when it comes to he's had a lot of nerfs, number one, but then more than anything, it's just there's a lot better and more reliable CC to really use onto him. So the Varian pickup is the best answer outside of possible Arthas.
Let's talk Tempo Storm mindset. They are down 0-2 in the series versus 2 weird strats they were not expecting. But this seems to be more of a normal draft, at least for Gale Force eSports, stuff that they would maybe be expecting Gale Force to play. But they've gone into Illidan again. It has not worked for them. They're on Battlefield of Eternity where they haven't been able to get a win. How do you think they're feeling at this point?
I would like to say that I think they're experienced enough for this not to affect them. But honestly, the fact that was Cursed Hollow, they've had such success there. Under 10-minute loss. That's almost unheard of on Cursed. It's one of the longest average maps times of all. And then now going to BOE, it's got to hurt. It feels good because I think they feel like they understand what's happening on the side of draft when it comes to Gale Force. That part feels good, but the lack of map confidence is, I think, a little bit more terrifying. Definitely when you're behind in a series, I think knowing the map is always the most satisfying thing. When you're like, this is our map, they can't touch us. When they take you to a weird map, it's way scarier than a weird draft.
We've got a Tempo Storm Illidan for Psalm, so probably not going to be the hunt shenanigans that Fan likes to run.
Yeah.
We'll see if that is still true, if they made the adaptations, because we're ready for game number 3. Let's see if Tempo Storm can bring this series around, or if Gale Force eSports will take it home.
Is there any other changes in builds when it comes to this map specifically that we'll see? I don't believe so. We see the Li Ming varies a little bit when it comes to the map specifically, typically focusing either into the armor or mana regen, and then going into a possible triumvirate or a seeker at 4 or 7. Other than that, though, everybody should be running the same. If Falstad goes Seasoned Marksman, I'm going to be a sad panda. I'll tell you that much.
And why is that?
It purely, okay, so why Season Markman on this map compared to some of the others? So not only does this map complement poking more than in almost any other map in the entire game, where Gathering Storm not only gets more stronger and stronger, but it's also just the raw damage you can put on your team is insane post 7. But more than anything, you're not going to be soaking minions. You're never going to soak the minions. It just, everything about Season Markman is totally backwards. So glad we don't see that here.
Scouting drone for Malfurion instead of Moonburn.
Or Shandos.
Wait, we didn't even talk about the fact that Caterpillar's playing Karzim.
Yeah, he's on a Karzim. How does that make you feel?
That is interesting.
Full DPS, baby.
All right. Double support for Tempo Storm emerges. That just flew right past us there. I was like, I expected June, right? I see Karzim, and I've already forgotten that the Malfurion's been picked up earlier on. Just like, oh.
There's a Karzim. Okay.
Yeah.
I was so focused on the side of what's going to happen with GFE in this draft because I really thought they would, you know, bust out another unique thing for this map specifically, and the fact that they didn't. But you're right. Yeah, we are going to see this. So full DPS Karzim, not the first time this has ever really popped up competitively. Probably one of the better maps for it. Again, any map where you can get a lot of skirmishing there. Fan's in a really bad spot. He's got to blink right on out. Barrel from Udal. So good pressure here from Tempo Storm early into the game. But okay, so full DPS Karzim, you know, focusing on running into the E is typically what we see with that, just because, again, it's going to be helping with the race. Your damage output is going to be very high consistently, but they might run it as more of a double support. If they do, I'm very scared if they run it not full DPS. I think Karzim is one of the few supports you can get away running solo with full DPS, so it makes the most sense to move in that, but we'll see where Tempo Storm goes, because, you know, we got Lightning Breath last game. I've seen weirder stuff.
Yeah, Mouse Divided, that tweet is just about how Dread and I felt about game 2-2. It happened very quickly. So now the first Immortal phase has started, and the rest of Tempo Storm, most of the Tempo Storm, are trying to check out and see where Gale Force eSports are at. They've got the scouting drone to be able to scout, just defending while they can try to get up to 4 as are Gale Force eSports. Cattle's going to jump in with Som too. Som and Cattle can have this great dive squad of sorts along with Fury once he power slides in. Just try to focus down taking somebody out. But it will be interesting to see how Tempo Storm wants to prioritize. If they are, so far, it seems like they want to just go for the race, the damage that they have, if that'll continue out throughout. Nice power slide, Varian's down. Yeah,
that was a lot of damage there by Tempo Storm. Now Akaphase is going to be in a tough spot. There's no way he makes it out. The mobility of these damages are just way too high there. A little bit of a slow rotation on the side of Gale Force. They definitely needed to pull away and play defensive here into the composition that Tempo Storm has put together. But that one was, you know, just a little bit slow in transition. It cost them a lot more maybe than it necessarily had to here. Mike Udall and the rest of GFE are going to try and remove some of the shielding here, but this is going to be Tempo Storm picking up the very first Immortal of the game.
There is an interesting talent choice for Li Ming at 1. Usually we see Astral Presence here on Battlefield of Eternity because you don't get a lot of phobes, because you mentioned before, you're not in lane very much, but still getting power hungry here. I'm wondering if that means that Li Ming is a lot of times going to be the one running to lane to clear out waves with like an orb, and then she just gets the globe and comes back up. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Also moving in Triumvirate, so maybe, I don't know, looking for a potential power spike after transitioning from that lane. Either way, it's not one we typically see, and Tempo Storm here, actually a flight towards top is going to be false set onto Illidan. Will they confirm the kill? Missing that slow is... He's got friend or foe.
Yeah, if he missed the slow, if the slow had hit, there might have been a shot there. So Tempo Storm here has got the siege onto the front wall, onto bottom, secured that half-level advantage over their opponents. But Gale Force here didn't lose too much. It's just going to be the first Immortal. And again, their composition honestly should do well, decent in the early parts of the game. They are waiting for 10. Because Illidan is absolutely one of the most terrifying heroes in the entire game, 1 through 9, only if he has a dive partner. And whenever that happens, the mobility and splitting is just, it's so easy to capitalize and punish off of.
Some roots go down. Team's duking it out over this Khazra camp. Cattle's looking to see where he can jump in, but Tempo Storm are happy to give up, well, maybe not happy, but okay with giving up this Khazra camp. in favor of not dying, not losing out too much, especially their experience advantage that they do have. It's important to them that they can continue to maintain that with their excellent soaking.
Yeah, and then I think it's also really big for Seeker to come out of Li Ming there at level 7, purely just based on the fact that not only are we looking at this map where Seeker can gain value, we see the Triumvirate, but more important than anything, the follow-up DPS to Varian at a range is going to be very, very important for the success of the squad, maybe even going to the Mirror Ball. We've seen some different 16 talents, but the invade here for Gale Force. Psalm is going to get spotted out. There's going to be the taunt, or excuse me, the stun, the flight coming out from Fawcett 2. Psalm dashes. He's going to make it out. The root ends up getting onto Fan 2. They lose somebody here. Tempo Storm with the rebuttal, and they're going to be able to get this camp and a kill.
Was a very quick rotation from Tempo Storm that was needed. Gale Force eSports understands, and if you guys don't see a lot of Illidan, that he, with Immolation, especially at level 1, is such an effective jungler, and he can go into a mercenary camp and just take it by himself, and Tempo Storm were relying on that, but Gale Force eSports knew that that was a potential for him, not seeing him on the map. They went straight to the bruisers, but quick response from Tempo Storm, allowing again friend or foe to come into play, and for Malfurion to come up and catch Fan in the roots. Now Tempo Storm had the counter kill, and they've gotten a better start damage-wise onto Immortals. Yeah,
so this is a moment where Gale Force eSports has to force the issue here before Tempo, kind of kicks into halftime, uses their poke as best as possible, but more importantly, closes the experience gap as Illidan transition towards bottom. An attempt going onto Cattle. You saw the thought there to move stun on top of stun of the Immortal. A little bit too early there. Fury taking some damage. June's going to have that scouting drone cleared out there by Mike Udall. So for now, it's going to be the poke game. And Tempo Storm very comfortably has a dominant composition. Calamity was picked up as 7 for Crowan, so it's going to be teleport-oriented build.
Cattle also now has blinding speed, so there's a lot more mobility for him. Psalm has jumped in on top of Equinox. He dives into his death, cannot get a 1-for-1 on Tempo Storm's Psalm. And once again, Tempo Storm have a man advantage, this time around the Immortal phase. See if they start to transition some people up. They did lose a lot of health in that engagement, so they're going to send people back. That is one of the scary things that can happen, even with this double support, especially with mana down for June, is if a team gets a kill and gets too aggressive too fast on Immortals, because of the low respawn timers early on, they can end up actually losing the fight and the Immortal because they were too hasty to go over and clear out the Immortals.
Yeah, we do see that, Cattle here for Tempo Storm is going with a bit more, of a kind of standard Karzim build, not moving maybe as much into the ease I expected to see coming out from him. So it is more of the double support for Karzim. It's an interesting choice, the trade-off there. So far, it's obviously working out, having the 10 advantage here. There's really very little that Gale Force can do now that halftime has been kicked in. Getting the camp is probably going to be their best response to any kind of pressure or soak they can manage to be able to pick up. 7-sided, mosh pit there, and it's going to be Metamorphosis, as that is going to be Aquaface. No way he's making it out. The question is it only him? In fact, it is. The noble sacrifice, I can respect that.
Yeah, that was a terrifying position for members of Gale Force eSports to be in. Down heroic abilities and up against Mosh Pit, that corridor could have been lights out for way more of Gale Force. So making that sacrifice, turning Fury around, importantly, was the best case scenario for Gale Force eSports. Now they need to get heroic abilities for this defense.
What that did more than anything for Gale Force eSports buying that time, though, allowed GFE to be able to get the 10 while the Immortal's up. And not only that, we saw the Zeratul fan there made the rotation to be able to get clear and removing even some of the shields. So Tempo just lost a huge power spike that they would have had. Equinox, sadly, looks like he may see the same fate as the rest of the squad, but again, pulling people away while the Immortal's up. That being said, the Immortal yet to be able to make it to lane, so not as much as he would like.
It's just going to take some time. It's Psalm and Fury. They have Equinox. He has 10 now. He's used taunt. Does not matter. Varian eventually goes down. And the Immortal pushes on. Cawthon and June were hanging out. Now they'll be joined by more of the members of Tempo Storm. They're looking to try to take down this fort. Maybe even get a kill if the cards are played out right.
I'm trying to figure out if that was full intentional just to buy as much time to be able to rid of the Immortal. I mean, obviously he was in a tough spot and just buying time. The question was, is it worth the sacrifice there for Tempo Storm? And I feel like it wasn't. The fact that they drew 2 members back, very well done here by Gale Force, again, trying to minimize their losses.
Especially those 2 scary members, right? Like, not having the threat of Mosh Pit when you're defending is so nice. Not having the worries of Illidan jumping on top of you and full engaging with those two. It was a nice pullback, but Tempo Storm still did get the fort and are still a level ahead in this game.
All right, so here it goes. It's going to be a tense moment over the next objective here now that both teams have been able to pick up these 10s. Falstad is going to soak onto the top half. Cattle going in. You know, she's using one of many dashes to try and say, hey, what's up? I'm DPS Karzim. I'm here to stay. Running the double support as always here for Tempo Storm.
Clearing out the minions and mercenaries, and now Illidan going to do his Illidan things, but Karzim's going to join him too, understanding that Gale Force eSports have already tried this invade once, and they don't want to allow it to go south for Tempo Storm this time. So fully watching and making sure that they can get these bruisers.
Yeah, we'll see. You see Gale Force here. They're trying to get as much soak as they can without risking anything. Tempo, you know, Gale Force had a moment where they could have looked to get a fight, but you can tell they're very focused on just waiting for the Immortal now at this point, catching up as much as they can in that downtime. All moving up towards top to be able to get the soak rid of the camp. Shaman camp, though, for Gale Force not available yet, but I believe this is coming up in a second here. Take a minute to be able to look at that. They, in fact, have 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so never mind. 7-sided strike used, power slide 2. A lot of cool. That is a, oh my goodness, Void.
4-man
no follow-up.
There is a gust as Michael Udall comes in. He's going to gust everybody into the wall. There it is. Ancestral healing on Equinox 2 so that he can dive back in. Twilight Dream hits a few of the members, but Fan on full chase as a taunt helps take out Illidan. Fury goes in with another giant mosh pit. 3 people caught in the dance party of death.
Nobody dies. And then Fan teleports to body block Cattle so he can't get in range for the last dash. Oh my goodness, the counter pressure here from Fan into that last fight was ridiculous. And now they have 2-man up over Tempo Storm while the Immortals are going to be spawning. Mikey Dahl backed out there on the false side to get rid of the camp pressuring top lane. And this is the moment for GFE that they've been waiting for to be able to come back into this game.
So Equinox has taken Banner of Dalaran, which I have never seen. It's like always Banner of Ironforge. I think once I've seen the other one, but to have Banner of Dalaran to give 20% increased ability power, we've got Gathering Storm Falstad, we have Li Ming, Zeratul 2 with things like Cleave, Singularity Spike.
I've never seen it either.
I've never seen it.
I've seen movement speed, you know, it's just, it makes a little bit more sense. Oh, wait a minute, Psalm caught out there. He gonna go down there, Vorpal Blade confirming the kill.
And there was that 20% ability power up, guys.
Yeah, 20% of his HP. There's gonna be the stun coming out, taunt not up for 5 seconds there. Power slide right on out is going to be Tempo Storm now still down a man. Gale Force transitioned over to the top Immortal here as they're looking to be able to kick off the halftime show. Immortals even in HP for now, but quickly changing that is going to be GFE. All the other builds, though, seem to be sticking to the norm, you know. Couple of situational talents here and there, but for the most part, what we would expect from these players. Gale Force trying to force, knowing there's a man down. Equinox not in range again for the taunt. Aggressive positioning when it comes to the Immortal. A moment of fresh air here for Tempo Storm. The fact that they have a defensive positioning, they can buy time for Illidan to join the fight and once again going to be on even footing.
They can. 15 seconds until Mosh Pit. Maybe if Tempo Storm can bait all of Gale Force eSports to move into one of these choke points behind while chasing somebody down, that's the way that they could go to get another big Mosh Pit. Fury has proven time and again his ability to land those, but the fact that Tempo Storm with this double support comp and an Illidan could not get a kill off of that was very scary for the rest of this game.
Yeah, it's got to make you question, you know, where's the damage come from? And, you know, I don't want to say that I feel like I've seen this story once before in the world of double the support, but in fact, we did see it when Tempo Storm ran it the last time. You know, the fight starts, the health starts up well. Everything's looking good. Everybody's got good HP. The big combos come out. Heroics are used, and when you look at it at the end, you know, the double support just doesn't have the damage output to be the trade that's needed. That being said, this is a far better double support than we saw last time. We'll see if they make it work. 7-sided strike's going to be dropped. Oh, the Gust and the, Void there is the taunt there. They confirm the kill. They turn it around. Oh my, Fan on the Zeratul is just outplaying every part of, look at that, even blinking out of the Twilight Dream. This kid, it just can't be stopped. There's a reason he hasn't died yet. Fury ends up going down.
Equinox was so close to dying again and gets out once again. And this will be a very healthy Immortal for Gale Force eSports. Tychus, the next kill. June, what can he do? He's trying to run away from the chase of Michael Udall.
And he will be able to retreat, but that is going to be an 80% shielding here onto this Immortal. And they are going to be closing into 16 talents here as well. This could be a keep going down on the side of Tempo Storm. Gale Force eSports here has the world to be able to work with, especially because that fort is going to exist on the top lane. As long as it doesn't take too much free damage, they might be able to make a power play there with Ancestral and Void coming up around the time that they reach the keep.
Tempo Storm doing what they can to defend. You see Falstad's in the bottom lane and want to bring down the shielding of this Immortal as fast as they can. Taunt into a Cleanse. Cleanse helping make sure that Som can get out of the stun. That taunt timing was so scary for Equinox with the stun coming in from the Immortal now. The shielding has been brought down, so Immortal will move into melee range. Tempo Storm have a lot of melee heroes to try to take out the Immortal. And this is a scary point, again, because of those 16s.
We'll see what happens here. The gate's going to end up dropping here. 5 seconds for Void and Ancestral to come off. Cooldown 7 seconds there for Twilight Dream. Odin as well. 10 seconds difference, though, for Metamorphosis. Keep looks like it's going to be going down pretty easy. No contest on the side of Tempo without those 16s. Gale Force is going to make the transition to be able to back out, paint the map their team's color, maybe even look towards that bottom fort because, again, without 16, Tempo wants nothing to do with the terrifying composition that exists on the opponent's side of the map.
And Falstad's already moved up to make sure he can stay soaking in that top lane. Be a constant presence there. Maybe even look at the mercenary camp. The world is Gale Force eSports oyster. Gale Force, as you can see, 3-1 on Battlefield of Eternity this season. Even though they have never picked it. It has always been picked against them. They understand this battleground and they understand the point of the draft. Like, everything feels like Gale Force did not just plan for the first game, maybe even the second game. They understood, like, we play, we win on this map, then we go to Cursed Hollow, we do this composition with our Sergeant Hammer, we win that, and then we go to Battlefield of Eternity as the nail in the coffin of this series, potentially, for Tempo. They
do, and I have a really dramatic and tragic thing to share with you, Gilly.
And what is that?
Fan, in fact, has died this series.
Yes, he has.
So, it's over. Psalm is obviously by far the best.
Psalm lost
a
Zeratul game yesterday.
Counter-argument.
The last game.
GFE's coming back.
They're still neck and neck.
I was so hyped with how
the
good,
better Zeratul.
dodging the Twilight Dream. There was a bunch of cool stuff. I was like, man, Fan's still not died. I went back to look at it, he's died.
Yeah,
this is
a bit earlier on in the game.
It's okay. He's still really good at the game, guys, I swear. You know, one death, we'll let it slide for now, Fan. Either way, though, 16's been picked up on the side of Tempo Storm. And this is going to be their moment during this Immortals here. Top keep going down means that somebody's going to have to back to be able to rid of those minions, and they don't have necessarily the best wave clear. Mouth not going into Moonburn, he can't do anything. No Echo Pedal on the side of ETC, he can't do anything. Illidan, Illidan and Tychus are really the only wave clear that they have. So one of those is going to have to be back pretty much at all points here, as this Shaman Camp will be able to buy a little bit of time, but it might cost them a couple seconds on the race to the Immortal. We'll see if Gale Force can capitalize.
Cleansing Touch, aka the Cleanse Dash for Karazim. So not Way of the 100 Fists, not focus more on damage. It is truly just full double support. They have cleanses upon cleanses to try to help out with Varian and all of his charges, stuns, taunts.
I would have really liked this build if one of the two supports, preferably Karazim, had gone full damage. Mouth, Bakery, putting out the Moonbird build once in a while. I'm not the biggest advocate necessarily competitively, but I do think, running into the E talent on Karazim, especially on this map, would really help with this double DPS, especially 1,000 Fists at 16, purely because now you have kill potential with Illidan when diving, when moving into the back. You can't just focus one or the other. You have to get onto either here. So defensive play, and it will stop the Illidan from maybe getting insta-gibbed this much more. But I feel like Tempo's draft now with these talents is going to fall too far behind.
Yeah, and especially because they didn't have a range to actually be able to poke here at the Immortal. So they had a great position and setup for if they had any poking heroes, but the best poke they have really is Cawthon to chuck out a grenade here and there.
And that's a pretty long cooldown. It's not the most reliable DPS, especially without going into Titan or quarterback at 16. Pretty much going to be a melee range there for any amount of poke. That is insane. And that is going to be a lot of damage onto Fury. Power slide right out. The taunt onto Karazim. Cleanse there from June's going to be able to peel along with the root, but the health bars of Tempo have fallen. Gale Force get rid of the scouting drone, and for now we are going to play the waiting game, but time is on the side of GFE, in fact, because not only do they have a global to soak, they've got the keep up on top in the long run. This is their game to be able to lose here, and they're closing towards that 20 is 19, just about to be trickled down experience into that.
In Gale Force eSports, their rotations have been so pretty. The minute that they see Tempo Storm retreat back off of the Immortal, then the wings come out. Falstad goes up, Zeratul goes down, they soak the lanes, then they come back. The timing for Tempo Storm is quite simply running out. They need to get in, and they know they need to get into a fight, but it's such a tough spot for them to try to fight because of the positioning of the Immortals.
And they always have to face Equinox there with the combo. That is going to be a Metamorphosis out, a cooldown that you do not want to see Psalm use, because not only does it provide, you know, the potential of surviving a team fight a little bit more, but then also the HP that it can have. It's almost like it's a self-cleanse in some kind of extent. When you look at Metamorphosis and why it's so dominant, it's not only the benefits it gains, it's being able to negate some of the damage or CC your opponents throw out there, and that's a long cooldown if he doesn't have anything to auto-attack. And the fact that he's not getting that side soak there, that's not going to be up for another 90 seconds here. As Gale Force is just putting on a clinic, they're comfortable with that side soak. Zeratul doing his thing onto the bottom, getting ready to be able to pick that up. 3 catapults now walking their way into the core of Tempo Storm. When somebody backs out, I expect Gale Force to move right on up to the Immortals, or be more patient toward. Yeah, there it is.
Well, it's a lot easier for Gale Force to do this, because on the opposite side, Crowan showing us why Li Ming is a favored pick here on Battlefield of Eternity. She has a low win rate on some of the other maps, but here in Battlefield of Eternity doing a great job
wins
because of her poke.
Yep, it's just, you know, you don't even have to run any build specifically. She's just innately good, really, kind of, to this. Granted, there are some, you know, Triumvirate, it allows you to get more poke. Seeker can maybe help a little bit more on the race, but even here we see, you know, another hybrid into the Calamity, into the Triumvirate. Tempo Storm getting desperate here, realizing that without 20s, they really need to be able to force a fight before Gale Force picks it up. Fan has been sniffed out. Cattle, no way to reveal, though, on his own at least.
And Psalm was on the Immortal of Gale Force eSports, but had to leave because all of his team had chased Zeratul clear into the bottom. Tempo Storm are okay. They're going to try to steal away the bruisers.
Yeah, they're going to get it for free, too. I thought for a moment Crowan might overextend, but now Gale Force has gotten to 20. This is why they've been so overly defensive. This is where I expect them to move up, use the Li Ming poke, be willing to be able to take the fight. And in fact, that's where they're now moving. They see GFE, though. Fan may be caught out. He does have teleport. I think there's the blink. He's going to be all right.
Fury is ever watchful to see if he can catch some people with a power slide and a quick follow-up, maybe even a big mosh pit, especially around all of these choke points. That is the gust being used for Michael Udall to buy time, as Fury had jumped in. It's going to be a 2-man mosh pit along with the cleanse, keeps him going, and that will be ETC going down. But Twilight Dream hits 2, and Li Ming and Variant go down. Void Prison on the back from Fan. He's still going to try to make this fight work. Psalm's in trouble. Fan dives in to catch him, but Psalm just as quickly will dive back out. That was a trade that favored Tempo Storm. Is it enough? Yeah, Tempo Storm now has to use this one-man advantage to get rid of some of the damage, because, again, there are catapults pressuring. We've seen some damage go to the core when it comes to the shielding, and they need to fully capitalize onto this advantage that they have here. I'm surprised Gale Force hasn't really tried to commit towards the fight onto the bottom. There's going to be a barrel roll. That's going to be Udall possibly going down, using the Epic Mount to fly out. Akaface is going to go right into Ghost Wolf, and he is going to move on out here. Tempo Storm putting up the damage. They will be able to win the race at this pace. And in fact, the slow rotation of Gale Force eSports is going to be able to secure it, I believe, without Falstead there. Starting to fly in. It is close, but Tempo Storm barely wins the Immortal. They are down and out, but have not lost the game just yet. They need their level 20 Storm Talents. They're clearing out catapults, did not take any permanent damage on the core. So they've got a moment, for sure. They, in fact, do have a moment. The question is, are they going to be able to capitalize much off of it? Not really. 20 is the only moment that they truly are going to have to be able to be at the same talents here, because bottom is, this is going to be cleared for free because they all backed out there, and being a man down, it makes the most sense. So can Tempo get the pick or the fight, you know, in the downtime, or are they going to be able to be successful on, is that 20 enough to be able to win that Immortal skirmish? They did well into the last one. They should be able to do it again here, as they do set up the party shrub. Varian, oh, who's going to be the one? It's a surprise party. Who's going to show up first? Who's fashionably late to the party? Nobody yet. Yeah, they're party poopers. Yeah. They don't even want to go. No, that's like seriously, they got together and they threw a party for Gale Force. Gale Force. And they didn't even show up. How could you be so callous? That's so BF. Oh, there's the dive onto Equinox. He turns around for the taunt. Ancestral Healing will connect, keep Equinox alive. Void Prison on everybody but Psalm. Psalm has to meta to go through, but dodges a lot, and all of Tempo Storm stays safe. Do they continue this fight, especially because they have Odin with big red button? Yeah, and that was going to be the Storm Shield drop there as well from Cattle. That's a cooldown that we might see Gale Force try and punish later on, as we have a lot of time here where Odin is going to be able to use the big red button. There it is, going to drop down, put out a
bit of damage onto the front wall. Illidan backing out, using that immolation there to be able to get the camp. Fan now is re-stealth. They're maybe looking to be able to get a pick. June is looking pretty, but good. Moonburn is going to say, not today there, Fan.
Fury, again, understanding that the attack the warrior meta that they've been experiencing, saying, that's fine, I have death metal, so try me, fools.
Fools. I just see them, you know,